Welcome to the Stress-Free Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Block. As always, I want to inspire, entertain, and educate you on the best tools and technologies out there. My goal is to help make your practice and career more profitable, efficient, and most importantly, more enjoyable. And check out all of my nonfiction and children's books on Amazon, and check out the stressfreedentist.com for any upcoming events. And if you're feeling you're a dental professional that's burnt out, or you just feel stuck or want to get to that next level, visit the International Academy of Dental Life Coaches, or www.iadlc.com, and we'll get you matched up with a life coach that understands dentistry. I also wanted to thank our amazing sponsor, Equa Marketing. They have helped me and my practice over the years to improve with SEO and website performance. And to find out how you can make your practice dominate in your area, go to www.equa.com/MSMSFD to book your complimentary meeting. Again, that's www.ekwa.com/MSMSFD. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. And I'm joined by my good friend here, Dr. Bob Picky, as I like to call him. And he is a stud, superstar. And Bob, how you doing today? Good to see you again.
I'm good. Thank you for the nice comment. I'll send this to you in the mail.
Yeah.
And I am doing excellent. And God, superstar. That's for somebody with gray hair, reading glasses, done something. So very honored to be here. As everybody knows, or those us, we're called the Picky and Blocky Show. It's kind of a long story. The Laura Benner Studholm nailed that. And but two guys with a lot of similar background that nobody would believe, but I'm so honored to be here. And if our interview helps one person elevate, the nerd in me is excited.
I agree. That was always my case for writing books and doing what I do. Is if it just helps a few people out there, then it was worth it. And Bob is, he's such a force in dentistry. He's a popular practice management coach, he's a speaker, best-selling author, entrepreneur, and he's a practitioner. And my man has got some he's got some high energy. I love seeing his Monday videos. And he's been known to be called as the purple cow guy, and also a Bitmoji on steroids. I got to find out more about that. But Bob, first jump into what is purple cow.
Yeah, flattered to be here. Let's get, by the way, I got to tell the audience what we were talking about before we went live. Every once in a blue moon, I'll give a lecture on what not to do when you lecture. I love Tootsie Rolls, and about 10 minutes ago, I had a huge Tootsie Roll. It's still stuck in my mouth over here. Never eat a Tootsie Roll before you go live. So, purple cow, wow. In 1 million years, if you ever told me I would be known as a purple cow wow guy, have a Facebook group called Purple Cow Wow, I would have looked at you and said, you're cuckoo. And long story short, there's a best-selling book by Seth Godin, best-selling author, New York Times, called Purple Cow. It's a very small book, maybe like 80 pages. I joke when I lecture, you can read it in number two bathroom breaks if you're an efficient reader. And the moral of the story is, if you're up in Wisconsin, every cow is black and white. It's called the Holstein cow. You just drive. But if all of a sudden you saw a purple cow and it was real, there'd be a traffic jam, there'd be video being taken, it'd be unbelievable. So the moral of the story is you want to stand out from the crowd in an amazing way. And long story short, long time ago, I was doing a podcast with Nathan Ho, and he goes, what's that purple book over on your desk there? Wasn't using a background. I go, oh, it's Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Explain what it is. He goes, you're the purple cow dude. Didn't say a word. Did another podcast. Guy goes, man, I watched that podcast a week before. You're the purple cow wow guy. So I decided to start the Facebook group. because as a coach, when you go online, so many people say the same thing. We all went to the most prestigious dental school. We do this, we do that. But what do you do that separates yourself from the competition? Hence, a purple cow over the usual black and white cows. And one thing I added, can't wait till my book is done, is being in healthcare, everything you do has to be based on ethics and excellence always.
Love it, man. I would also say to add to that, don't eat broccoli before you go on a podcast or a lecture. Um, but that is awesome, man. And I wanted to find out a little bit about what kind of dentistry you practice. You know, are you a general dentist, a specialist? What kind of practice do you have? Give us a little background there.
I'm after dental school, I went to perio, and so I'm a periodontist and implant specialist. At the same time I did perio, I don't think I slept. I also did my master's in oral pathology. So I'm a specialist, and but I've been in practice 40 years. I deal with general dentists all day long. And so over time, experience comes into play in helping others massively succeed.
So actually, did you ever think, because you're also a practice coach, did you ever think that you would become a practice coach?
Not in 1 million years. Um, let me quickly, within 20 seconds or less, which for me is impossible, let me quickly give you my backstory where it all came from. I was in a practice partnership for my first, God, 12, 13 years of practice. I knew it wasn't working from the start, but you never know. We opened up right off the bat in an area that had a lot of potential for growth, which it did, called the Naperville Aurora Corridor. And in August of 1998, my appendix blew on a Monday morning. My buddies at Northwestern took it out where I'm still on staff. It was a joke, but they said, man, dude, strangest appendix we've ever taken out. And so they go, we put a Penrose drain in. We couldn't use your belly button. Don't pull the drain out. I'm like, I'm not going to pull the drain out. They knew me too well. So long story short, that was on a Monday. Wednesday morning, you're out of here tomorrow. I'm like, thank God, can't wait to go back to work. That Wednesday, August 26, 1998, 5:05 p.m., a day in life I will never forget. I can't remember what I had for breakfast last week, but the surgeon walks in and the two pathology chairmen walk in, and I've never seen faces like that before. The oral path chairman had become a second dad to me. It was about 6'4", a son of a beach. I lost these fingers in Polish resistance. Um, a fellow dude like us. And I had a strange home life. I told the story. And he said, he sat down next to me and he grabbed my hand. I thought he was going to break my fingers off. And the tears start coming down his eyes. And he goes, since I am a dad to you, I am the one to tell you, you are the first case ever at Northwestern. You have a very rare cellular adenocarcinoma of your appendix. We think you have less than 6 months to leave. I came down here at 3 in the morning. We've been talking to MD Anderson, Mayo, early internet. They were sending some stuff. Nobody knew what to do with me. And when somebody tells you you got less than 6 months to live, and that morning you're excited because you're going to be out of there. I swear to God, it's about the only time in my life I thought I was going to defecate in my pants. And so that next day, they took out part of my intestine. They were worried about severe spread. Um, I was worried about a colostomy bag. Thank God, no bag. And a couple of days later, I said that, all right, man, I'm 43 years old. I got more energy than Carter's has pills. What are we going to do? I'm not ready to go. So long story short, we thought about it. I know the story's a long, but it's so important because there's a great quote by Einstein, everybody. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. And I took it. And we paged Al Benson, kind of a very smart guy, a known oncologist at the time, today world renowned, because I knew him on staff, thank God. When Al talks to you, he talks to you like this. Well, Bob, well, and I'd grab his beard. Al, I'm down here, dude. He goes, meet me in 2 days. I signed off on 41 side effects. I went through 14 months of experimental chemo every Friday for 14 months from 4 to 6, chemo dripping. In the middle, 90 days of radiation, each 30 days, a different bead. And during the 90 days of radiation, they put in a portacap. I had a chemo pack, a different chemo, also pumping in 24/7. I don't know how I went back to work 14 days later, never missed a day of work. I don't know how. I must have looked like I came out of a concentration camp. The hair didn't fall off my head. We don't know why. Hope you all have a good sense of humor. The hair fell off everywhere else on my body. And my girlfriend at the time goes, you look like a little 12-year-old. Long story short, I said to my practice partner, this is not working. I need to buy out. I don't care if you stay in the building. I don't care about a thing. We're not going to be competition. He took my first, offer. Hasta luego. And we'll talk about this in a minute. I got so tired of hearing. He's a great clinician. He just retired. I'd sit in his chair, but I got tired of hearing the team were morons. Bought him out. I hired a practice coach, people. I want you to listen to this. I hired a practice coach. I signed a secrecy agreement from one of my mentors. Until he dies, I still can't tell you who it is. But by hiring that practice coach, and you're looking at one over here, Blocky, me, he's part of the dental life coaches. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. After 1 year, I said to her, you're unbelievable. I'm now taking off from some of the experience I had with Fortune 500 companies when I pioneered lasers. I started something called the PBR, Pick Business Team Building Retreat. My practice went vertical. And out of nowhere, power social media, about 8 years ago, somebody says to me, can you help me? Can you coach me? And I'm like, for real? And I started doing it. And experience comes into play. So a little bit of a long story. But remember, in every difficulty, you can do something. By the way, 2 of the 41 side effects got my dupa. In Polish, that's butt. And because of that, I can sort of speak Polish. I know how to swear. And about 14 years ago, I'm lecturing at a meeting, and I fell down walking across the street in New York. I was lecturing Greater New York dummy. A couple of my buddies are like, ha ha, pig's getting older. And I'm like, and happened again about a week later. Long story short, went to my neurology buddy's side effect number 7 from the level of the radiation damage, level of the appendix. It got my L5S1. I got a weakness on my right side. And those that know me, I got to walk with a cane because I got no balance. It's a pain in the rectum, especially because I used to be the fastest walker on planet Earth. Sometimes people tell me, even with my cane, they can't catch me. Most unbelievable side effect, number 40 or 41, got me exactly 14 days. 7 years ago in February, before lecturing at a sold-out ballroom at midwinter meeting. Side effect 40 was they were worried the chemo could get my cilia. Cilia controls your lungs and your hearing. I went to bed and I said to Carmen, my ears sound funny. She looks at me and, oh my God, all you guys do is complain. And I woke up, people, 100% deaf.
Wow.
My left ear still has 6%. My right ear went down to 6%. Being on staff in Northwestern again, a friggin' godsend. Got in to see my buddies the next day. They did a steroid thing, didn't work. 2 days later, Almico put a cochlear implant in. That is also called a pain in the doodah. But without it, I wouldn't hear blocky. Every once in a while, my favorite word is what? They wanted to put a second one in. I said, no way. I still got 6% because if something happens, you can use it. Sure enough, we got a guy at Northwestern that's doing research right now. I'm part of the study to try to get my cilia working again. So remember, people, life is precious. That was 25 years ago. Here I am, still kicking butt. And so I love coaching. I love helping others. Sorry about the long answer, but in the middle of every difficulty does lie opportunity. I took it, I ran with it, and I smoked it.
Wow, man, that is quite the story, inspirational story. Um, Actually, I wanted to just back up a little bit. You said that you had bought your partner out, and you hired a practice coach, and you started to flourish, and then you started to become a coach yourself. What was it that that really changed everything to really elevate your practice?
Yeah, great question. And I knew right away, I knew nothing about running a business, zero. I knew how to practice. I was sort of the more expressive one of the two. I was out there banging on doors, hey, we opened up here. We'd love to work with you. When I looked at our overhead, I about had another defecation in my pants. And something I talk about today, when you practice, your ethical clinical hat got to be on first. But at the same time, peeps, you're running a business. And if you don't have business skill, you ain't going to make it to the level that you and your team deserves. So I said to myself, shit, I called up one of my mentors, pick group secret number one mentors. And my first five, almost at the same time, there, except for one, Pete Dawson, may rest in peace. They became mentors about 1984-ish. That's all of the story. I called up one of them and I said, you guys are the most successful practice in Atlanta. There's a hint. And I said, help me. They immediately turned me on to their practice coach. I hired her. Within the first meeting, it changed so many things I never thought about. Another quick side story, but you got to use your brain. I pray this never comes out here again. Always taught a day a week, but right place, right time. I was the first person in the world to ever use a laser in the mouth. I pioneered it. I co-wrote the first book. It's in 47 languages. I left lasers about 1995 for many reasons. I use them every day. They're amazing. But I remember being in a meeting about 1986-ish, 7, GE wanted to get into the dental laser business. So I was at some event and I met Jack Welch. Who's Jack Welch? He's rolling in his grave that GE's not a Fortune 500 company today. But I took away the outline and I said, holy shit, this company is doing something right. About 8 weeks later, another company, and I started the PBR, Pick Business Team Building Retreat. I got my team together. We went away from the office for a one-day event, not really knowing what we were doing, but taking everything our coach had told us and elevated it to 100 times the level. We came back excited, motivated, new sense of mission, vision, culture. Why? Unbelievable. We did amazing stuff. We did it 6 months later. By year two, it turned into a biannual 2-year event. And when you do a premier PBR, peeps, you got to pretend you're a Fortune 500 company. You got to develop your mission statement, your vision, your culture. If you don't have a mission, vision, culture statement, you and your team don't know where you're going. Simon Sinek developed the why. It made Apple a multi-billion-dollar company because they figured out their why. Every dentist knows what they do and how they do it. Well, yeah, I know how to give a block and I know how to prep the tooth and I know how to put the crown on. I even know how to make an adjustment. but you know why you do what you do. You got to do a SWOT, a strength, a weakness, your opportunities, your threats. You get really comfortable with yourself and you got an awesome team, a personal SWOT. I carry my personal SWOT around in my case, my weaknesses, so I can look at them every day. My weaknesses, you can see time management's number one. And every other PBR, my team does a personal SWOT on me so I can improve myself. And by doing that and paying attention to business, man, we brought our overhead down, raised our fees. We've been fee for service from day one. We developed things we never thought we could do, and we went vertical. So a long answer, but I get passionate because it works, man. And as I don't have to tell you as a coach, when you got a coach, it works, and people don't think about it. In Chicago here, or anywhere in the basketball world, if I just say Michael or MJ, everybody knows I'm talking about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had a coach from his first high school coach that told him he wasn't good enough to play basketball to his final coach. And believe it or not, people, he still has a coach today to coach him in business. That's probably kept a little bit quiet, but it's very true. Everybody has a coach. And when you get somebody like Blocky that has had some life challenges, I hope I'm not embarrassing you, but he's not afraid to talk about it. He took those life challenges, man, and smoked it, became a best-selling author, wrote some books, and knows how to get you through a difficult time, period. Coaching, huge, huge thing for success.
And love it, man. And thank you for the compliments. For the PBR, the retreats that you have, can you repeat? Is that for actually for the dentist and their team?
Yes. And when you do a PBR, it's when you go away for that premier PBR, you're taking yourself and your team away from the office for a day retreat. You can't do it in the office, man.
Mhm.
There's too many distractions. The phone, whether you like it or not, you're going to be looking at the computer all day long. We happen to go 3 stoplights south of our practice. There's a dental golf club. I belonged there since 1989 when it opened. I can't golf anymore, but they still have great rooms for us. We have breakfast, lunch, surprise guest speakers. It's turned into an awesome thing. But while we're on it, that's another thing. If you got the wrong team, you ain't that PBR, just ain't going to do much. You may help some people out, but most people don't have the right team. It just is what it is. We're not taught leadership. We're not taught business in school. But
How
you
do you
got
know, Bob? How do you know if you have the right team or not?
great question, man. Hire the right coach because not I'm coaching a client right now, and not everybody has leadership skills, like it or not. In the military, most people are unaware of the very small percentage of people that make it past the rank of colonel or captain in the Navy. Same thing. So to go on to Rear Admiral, 1-star general is almost impossible because leadership skill doesn't exist. In the military, time will get you up in rank, get you a nice retirement. But to make it to Rear Admiral, 1-star general, and up from there, you got to have amazing leadership skill. We're just not taught that in dentistry. And if you have a great coach, somebody with good leadership skill will know if they have a good team. But if you're not sure, work with your coach. Introduce them to your team one-on-one. Each, maybe 1 hour with this person, next week, 1 hour with that person. You and I can tell right away if it's a great team member, somebody that needs to go hasta luego, baby. And, you know, again, my coaches taught me so much. Mentors. One of the first things Pete Dawson taught me was the DISC personality profile system, DISC. And Bob, and when Pete took you under his wing, when you went to his classes, he was the most religious, nice man. Oh my God, when he took you under your wing, Bob, if you don't effing use the DISC personality profile system, if you don't effing do the preclinical interview, I will effing oust you in 2 seconds. And I called my buddy Dave Garber in Atlanta, part of the Goldstein Garber team. If you don't know who they are, look them up. Ronnie's book, Changing Your Smile, was one of the most unbelievable sold books for years in dentistry. Ronnie pioneered veneers. Same thing. Pick, no disc, do a preclinical interview. By knowing disc, you got to have the right team member with the right personality profile in the right position. You don't want somebody on the phone going, "Hi, Blocky's office, hang on." It's got to be, "Hi, thank you for calling Dr. Black's office. This is Jill. How may we help you? And I'm so glad you called." That's what you got to know.
And same thing goes for someone that's, really analytical. And if they're really good with numbers, maybe they're the best person to do your insurance claims or so the disc profile, we've done that. We did that with our office, and it just a great way to figure out everyone's personality and see if they're in the right seat at the table. Because what you don't want to do is try to force someone that's, it's not their personality type into the wrong position. Can you explain what the preclinical interview is again?
Yeah. Um, it's one of the things that, and by the way, I think I don't like side stories. A quick side story is going to get the right answer to this. Not too long ago, I did an interview with Gordy Christensen. Most of you know who he is. And Gordy said to me, "Was pioneering lasers the greatest thing you've done?" I'm like, "Nope." And I go, "Yep. Every time somebody uses a laser, it comes back to me. No bleeding, no swelling, no scarring, no suturing, less pain, blah, blah, blah." But I said about 1984, we all lectured at the same meetings. There was no internet. It put me face to face with all you guys. I was blown away to be speaking with you all at the same meetings, dinners. You took me under your wing and you mentored me. And Goldstein, Garber, Denny Tarnow, Dawson all said to me, by 1984, "Pick, if you don't do the preclinical interview, bam." And they were I was probably 30 years old, 29. They were like 40. So they were old to me. And so I'm like, "All right, I'll do it." And so what a preclinical interview is, and it's not done by many. Of all the dentists I work with, I can only think of two to do it besides me. When a patient first comes in, when they call, we try to get their personality profile on the phone. You can usually pick that out right away. And so it's a room about half the size of an operatory. It's got like a desk, just chair on each side, another chair, some awards, diplomas, before and after, stuff like that, where the patient sits down. Just to the right is our mission, vision, culture statement, some info about us, blah, blah, blah. So assistant sits the patient down and they're sort of staring at what would be the door to the room. And they come get me. And let's say they'll say, "Oh man, Annie was right. This patient's a really high C. C stands for calculating or analytical, Mr. Spock. So that means I better get my DUPA in there right away on time." So I walk in, but we purposely wait about 5 minutes to let them look around the room. I walk in. Hi, Mr. Spock. It's Bob Pick. How are you? Welcome to the practice. I'm so glad you're here. I'll usually start with something funny, no matter what personality profile. Want you to know I much prefer sitting on my side of the table than yours, because when I was a kid, it's very true. My dentist was the weirdest, strangest humanoid on planet Earth. No personality, body odor, never gave me shots. I can still feel the vibrations. Because of him, I like meeting you away from the dental chair instead of upside down, where I can look at you face to face, realize stuff. So right away, because I know that patient's analytical, and let's say they're being referred to me for an implant, or let's say they're being referred to me for veneers, as I mentioned all the time. And you know, when we do that implant, I want you to know, and I'm going to make sure when there's an analytical that my reading glasses are on, and I'm going to be a little bit more serious. I want you to know, Mr. Spock, that when we put that implant in, it has to be 0.0742 microns to every osteoclast, which is a bone cell and osteoblast that creates bone. So we have it done perfectly for you. I also want you to know I have a ton of literature. We can give you it. I can send it to you by email, whatever you want. I want you to know when we work on you, every I is going to be dotted, T is going to be crossed, blah, blah, blah. And here's what we're going to do during the exam. I want to show you some pictures, if you don't mind, what an implant looks like, how it works. If I'm a general dentist, I want you to know when we do veneers, it's got to be done right. I also want you to know I use an amazing lab. When veneers are done, it's going to involve me. It's going to involve my team, you as the patient, so important, in an unbelievable lab. And we're going to work together to make an unbelievable result. You told me you were on my, went to Google stuff. We have all 5-star reviews. That comes from ethics, always doing things right, no pain if we have, got every great team. So the last question I ask is, Lucky, before I bring you to a room, any questions for me about my training, my team, or anything we're going to do today? There's times when I lecture, I'll have one of my team members with me, and thank God, because I'll say to them, when I lectured at the Tuber Boost this summer, said to Diana, tell me this isn't true. 90% of patients say this when I ask that question. Any questions for me about my team training, what we're doing? They'll look around the room. No, I'm ready. Let's go. I could almost schedule them right there, and I haven't even looked in their mouth. If I got Donald Trump in the chair, hey, Trump, we're going to get down to business right away. We're going to maximize time. We're going to make everything huge. I promise I will not get anything from China. I'm talking that person's language. If I got Jim Carrey in the chair, hey, dude, what's happening, man? Give me a high five. Expressive. So know what you're doing. By doing that preclinical interview, you separate yourself from the competition, and hence a purple cow rather than all the black and white cows. So long answer, but there's the preclinical interview. Huge, huge.
Love it, man. And that's how you can create a fee for service practice. You have that time, you create those relationships, and that is man, that is such a great tip. Um, Bob, I wanted to wrap things up with a couple final questions. Number one, how do we find out more about what you're up to? Or you can leave a website, email, phone number, whatever you want to leave. And then
Yeah.
what do you think is the biggest stressors out there for dentists in this day and age?
Well, first off, just go to the FBI's most wanted list. There I am. No. Uh, First off, still working on that. Uh,
Tootsie Roll.
Anyhow, yeah, don't eat a Tootsie Roll, people, before you start. But best way to get a hold of me, most of you know me from Facebook. Just send me a PM either via my personal site, Purple Cow Wow. If you're not on Purple Cow Wow, get your dupa out there. Because every Sunday night at 8 Eastern, I go live for tips and tricks. Thursday night live with interview and leaders at 8. And as Blocky said on my personal site on Monday morning, Bob picks, kick some butt. They give you more energy in the Energizer Bunny. Send me an email, Dr. Pick, DRPICK, at thepickgroup.com. My cell, 773-230-5211, 773-230-5211. Great question. We live in a very interesting world today where, with the power of social media, It allows you to interact with others, but depending on your personality, I think what can stress a dentist out, you may see somebody that appears to be or is very successful, and it can make you envious, can make you jealous. Oh, shoot, how am I not doing that? What am I doing wrong? I also think what can stress dentists out is also having the wrong team. If you got the wrong team and they don't support you, man, it's not good at all. But remember one of my quotes: never be jealous of those that are successful. First off, make sure they are, but try to imitate what they're doing right. And if you can put your own spin on it, do it and crank it. And I think an excellent story to that. Some of you may know what Portillo's is. It's a hot dog place. I'm not sure there's any by you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Long story short, Dick sold the company 9 years ago now. Y'all sitting down, people? $1.2 billion to Berkshire Partners. Now, after store number three, he realized, shoot, he's paying rent on each hot dog place. By the way, Dick, uh, first generation American, was in the Marines for 3 years, high school education, didn't know what he wanted to do. But he said, wait a minute, McDonald's owns the land that every McDonald's sits on. And if you have a franchise of McDonald's, peeps, you not only pay a franchise fee, you pay a rent to Mickey D's. So
Mhm.
he started buying the land that every Portillo's sits on. Y'all sitting down, he copied what they were doing right. He didn't get jealous. And although he had some jealousies, believe it or not, because you ran it like a Fortune 500 company, being on the board was an amazing thing for me. Um, he started buying the land, and when he sold the company for 1.2 billion, the land was not part of the deal. He gets rent averaging $18,000 a month on 61 properties
Wow.
every month as passive income. That's a lot of money every month simply because he had the idea to imitate those that were successful. So don't get stressed out. Hire a great coach, imitate what somebody's doing right, try to crank it. And remember, people, we work hard in dentistry. We really do. We work in something the size of a baseball. And nobody sits down and goes, oh, I can't wait for the block. And the long buckle, my favorite shot. And if we're off by a half a, forget a half, we're off by an eighth of a millimeter on a bite. My bite doesn't feel right. Can you adjust that? Never thanks for what you did. My buddies at Northwestern, somebody has a gallbladder problem, they're put to sleep in the operating room. The chief resident starts it, the surgeon walks in, all right, hang on, let me do this, do that. All right, you close, see you later. Gets 12 grand. Patient doesn't come back, and oh, my gallbladder scar is off by an eighth of a millimeter. Oh, thank you so much for doing that. I'm out of pain. We work hard, man. And there's times I come home and I'll say to Carmen, oh my God. But I realized right away I couldn't do what she does. She's a hospice nurse. Couldn't do it. So there's the answer to your question.
Bob, you knocked it out of the park today. Amazing, amazing episode. So many great nuggets. Always a pleasure, and I love what you're doing. You're doing so many great things for the dental professionals out there. Again, Dr. Bob Pick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You're awesome.
Thanks again for listening to the Stress Free Dentist podcast. And don't hesitate to get in touch with me at info@thestressfreedentist.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Until the next episode, I'm Dr. Eric Block, the Stress Free Dentist.